Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Red Pill Podcast number 83. Hope you're all having an incredible weekend out there. This is dedicated to our favorite ritual, Halloween. I'm just kidding, just joking around. But I do want to call this the Halloween special because it is packed with a number, connections, and a decode that I can't wait to share with you guys. For those decoders in our community, this is going to be absolutely jam-packed with connections. And we know that this energy that we're getting in the market right now has been all ritualized through this solar eclipse window, leading us into this lunar eclipse, which will be happening in about a week. So I'll be getting into all of that today. This episode is going to be packed with information and value. So welcome. And before we kick this off, I just want to show you how dialed into the code we are here in the Wolfpack. So as I said moments ago, this is Red Pill Podcast number 83. And of course, the day of Halloween is an 83 date numerology. I mean, it's just amazing how this could not have been scripted. It's impossible. I made this weekly podcast back in April of 2021. Here we are about a year and a half later, and I've been doing one a week, every week, like clockwork. And it just so happens that I'm going to be releasing this podcast leading into this specific day on the exact date numerology. I mean, we all know that this has been happening a lot lately, and the more you become aware of this code, the more you get dialed into it, and you start to create your own relationship with the numbers. So I try to share my wisdom as we go along in our decodes. Of course, I will be today, but I just wanted to show you that there's actually nothing coincidental about this. It just is what it is, and that's the magic behind these numbers and connecting them to the alphabet with what we do here called Gematria. So again, I'm really excited to share all of this with you guys. I know we have a lot of new wolves joining the wolf pack. In a couple days, we'll be having even more people join us. And I just wanted to start out by sharing gratitude and appreciation and love for every single one of you. The world has been just packed full of energy lately, and we are quite a different community where we've been protecting our prana in the process, really working together and building together and trying to stay away from the noise and the narratives and all the stuff that's exoteric, that's been pulling and tugging on the heartstrings of man since time immemorial. And, we're really trying to do something different here. And I just wanted to start out with gratitude because I feel the difference and I feel the shift. And it's just a beautiful thing to watch. So kicking things off, much love to the Wolfpack. I appreciate every single one of you. And now let's get into the episode. Again, get yourself relaxed, grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea. If it's the morning or if it's the night, get yourself a glass of wine or beer or a beverage of your choice. And let's get things started. So if you are new to the Wolfpack and you haven't gotten into our Discord server, just go ahead and send me a message on Patreon with your Discord username and the last four numbers after your username, and I will reply back to you on a Patreon message with your Discord invite. Then we've been doing great with the coin voting system where you guys have been voting every single week on which coins we cover on these episodes. So I just wanted to give you guys a shout out. Thank you so much. But one thing I do want to say, because it's been getting a lot of votes lately, and I do not want you guys to think that I'm disregarding you. A lot of people have been showing interest in solo, but unfortunately, I can't do any technical analysis on solo with the limited chart data that's available. So again, guys, let's give this some more time. Let this chart develop. I have been keeping my ears open to people talking about this project, so I'm by no means oblivious to it. I'm well aware, especially with my connections to people in this blockchain community. It's definitely part of the conversation. It seems to be a very important part of what's to come in this quantum system. So don't worry, we will get around to this coin eventually, but as of now, I just do not have the chart history to dive into the chart and do any TA on it. And as for decoding, it's really worthless because I like to decode and have the charts and combine it all simultaneously so that you know how to take action. There's so much more that's going on here than just decoding. You can get ahead of this market by combining all of these strategies that I share. So you could also decode this coin on your own. It's very simple. If you have my Crypto-Mastermind course, you're going to be able to do everything I just said. It teaches you the beginner level introduction material, everything from investment thesis to designing your own portfolio to learning how to read the charts, and even has the information on how to decode using Gematria specifically for investments. So it includes a bonus material for free called the Exit Strategy Blueprint. That's within that Crypto Mastermind course. And it will show you even more detailed information on how I decode using Gematria for specific crypto tokens and then use it with the numbers and the charts and just have this holistic perspective. This way I know how to invest at the right times. I know how to de-risk. And when all things are said and done, it's a much more optimal strategy than just guessing, which is what most people do when they invest. So moving forward, we will in the future get to the solo chart. Let's give it about 6 months or so, and then we could cover that. Another thing is the ISO 222 special. So I promised you guys that I will be doing a part 2 before the end of the year. I already made that special probably back in September. I forgot the exact time frame. But go back and check that out because I covered XDC. I covered all the ISO tokens, Stellar Lumens and XDC, IOTA. It was pretty awesome for me actually to take the entire episode to just focus on those coins. Of course, you know we're covering XRP every single week, but it was just nice to go through that. And I think we even included a H-bar. But I did H-bar recently. I believe I touched on Stellar Lumens quite recently in another Red Pill podcast, but I will be doing a part 2 special to the ISO 222 series. And who knows, it could be ongoing because starting this November, which is just a couple days away, that's really when I believe things are going to start kicking off in terms of the transition phase. So of course, this transition phase has been happening behind the scenes, but I think we're still in the rollout of it all. And you know, there is all this theater with the SEC case with Ripple and all that shenanigans, and I don't give my energy to that. I really could care less. I'm looking at this from a much more esoteric perspective. So I've been decoding these ISO coins over the past year and a half, almost 2 years now. Anyone who follows my work knows that my investment thesis is centered heavily around those tokens. So by no means have I been disregarding them. And I think this ISO 222 special part 2 will give the Wolfpack even more, information regarding my personal stance on everything and my overall investment thesis with these ISO tokens. So if you guys have any more to offer regarding the ISO coins and this whole rollout and how you perceive things are going, definitely talk about it in our Discord. We would love to have that open dialogue. We're open-minded here. We just want to discuss where everyone stands on this all and not looking at it from the perspective that most people are looking at it through. You guys know what blockchain technology is. You know what it's designed for. So you're not lost in the sauce. So it's important that us, the ones that are more illuminated, are having these conversations open-mindedly and sharing our gnosis with each other. So this way it's holistic and the whole community can come together and build together. I think as the leader of this, I want to get involvement in that type of arena. So again, I appreciate every single one of you for sharing your wisdom. It's so valuable. So that ISO 222 special probably coming out in the month of November, but absolutely before the end of the year. Just wanted to give you guys that update. What else has been going on in my world? As well, anyone who is looking to upgrade to the expansion group coaching membership on Patreon, you can upgrade at any time. The same thing with Trading Wolves. So I've been getting a lot of questions lately about people upgrading, and you can do that at any time. But if you're somebody who just who's joined in the past, maybe a couple months ago, and you're on the Mastermind community membership and you'd like that upgrade, you can wait till November 1st if you'd like to do that. So that's just in a couple days. And there are spots available for the expansion group coaching. We do 2 monthly Zoom calls. They're hosted by me. And as well as you will get the expansion mastermind course completely for free included in that membership. And you will get lifetime access to that course regardless of how long you're a expansion group coaching member. So that upgrade includes everything. It includes Trading Wolves and Mastermind community, as well as the perks that come along with the expansion group coaching. So I hope that answers any questions regarding that. A lot of people have been reaching out to me, showing interest, and I would love to have some more people working closer to me. So if anyone is interested in that, all you need to do is go over to your Patreon account settings, then go to membership, and then you could upgrade at any time. Trading Wolves or expansion group coaching. You don't need to cancel memberships or do anything crazy like that in order to do that upgrade. Patreon has actually been getting a lot more user friendly. So just wanted to put that out there because I've been getting DMs and emails regarding stuff like this, and it just makes my life easier to give these updates vocally here in these podcasts. So if that doesn't have any meaning to you, you could just disregard everything I just said. Now let's get into some dates before I go into this Dow Jones chart, because last week I decided to go over the Dow and it just completely melted to the upside. It was pretty amazing to watch these targets get smashed through. So I'll be following up on this and how the Dow analysis that I gave last week was very important into what occurred leading into this solar eclipse. And again, we were very, very adamant that we would have a bullish energy leading into this solar eclipse, regardless of when it kicked in. And here we are. I mean, literally moments before that solar eclipse, we just saw every coin go to the upside. We saw the Dow just go in a straight line breakout. So it's happening, guys. Like the way that we were perceiving this market going all the way back, like to when we were hitting our all-time highs at the end of the year to the beginning of the year, into having a larger correction in the year of 2022, plus relief, and then, corrections around the Shemitah. This has been really, really playing out. I know that it might seem arduous, and if you're somebody who's been following along for over a year, but if you really just zoom out and get rid of all the static, it's been really going according to plan. So we've gotten our bigger corrections in the crypto market. We've yet to see the really, really big corrections in the stock market. I know we've seen isolated corrections in some of the tech stocks, but there's a lot more room to go to the downside. So the fact that we're seeing this reaction in the Dow, it's really telling in the repeatability of cycles from Shemitah to Shemitah, and how there was that 1973, 1974 cycle that I've been talking about for a while now. This is looking pretty damn similar. So it's just mind-blowing to watch how time is like a ripple effect, and it just cycles and cycles and cycles. We're just reliving a cycle right now. And what makes this so special is that we were aware of it before it happened. So that's what's really key. That's what allows us to become better investors, because when that correction comes, then we have the response mechanism and we're not letting our emotions take over. The same thing goes with anyone who's brand new to this market, and now you're seeing these pumps to the upside. This is a time for you to be patient and not try to chase green candles. Just work on being a less emotionally reactive to this market and be more responsive to the market. Let's get into some dates. So I'm using this new Gematrinator version. So if I'm a little bit slower at using it, I apologize. I'm getting used to it as we speak. It's a pretty similar layout, but it does look different for me. So first thing is tomorrow is Halloween, or All Hallows Eve, also known as Samhain. So this is October 31st, 2022. And you can see we have that 83 date numerology in the double digit date numerology, the way that I like to do it. That's giving you a very important number. That is the 23rd prime. Okay, this is so critical, okay? Because we are in the year of 5783, the Hebrew year, which adds up to 23. We're about to move into the Gregorian year of 2023, which this Hebrew year will be running through. And this is the year of the Jubilee, and Jubilee equals 23 in Chaldean. Also, this day will be happening on a Monday, October 31st. Monday is the day of the moon, and moon is also 23 in Chaldean. This is very important that you pay attention to this, guys, because this is all coded in. So getting to the actual word Halloween in Gematria, this is incredible because we have this number 40 in multiple ciphers. And I wanted to show you this esoteric connection, and then we'll move on to the rest of the decode. But where we're going to go right now is the periodic table to the 40th element, which is zirconium. And you're probably like, what? Why does that matter? Well, it's just really interesting with zirconium, with the Royal Society of Chemistry using these images, and these images have so much esoteric meaning. It's important that we dive into it. But this is the scarab beetle. And you probably know already the significance of the scarab beetle in Egyptian. You guys know I like to talk a lot about Egyptian because I'm huge into the mythologies, and that's what makes my work quite different from most people in this conscious space, because I've went back and studied all of these mythologies in different cultures, different ancient civilizations. That's really what gives me my leg up instead of just looking at things based on the zodiac or I think that the mythologies are very profound in the makeup and building blocks of our reality, the way that society operates, laws, everything from admiralty to law of the land. I mean, it is so complex, but knowing about these mythologies really allowed me to have that base layer, fundamental information to pretty much already expect these sorts of truths to unfold. So I thought it was interesting with this 40th element and this connection to zirconium, and you have this scarab beetle symbolism, kind of this Egyptian vibe going on. And this is talked about in diamonds, of course. You could see right here, you could always click on uses and property. It talks about the ancient Egyptians used zircon gemstones and jewelry. For the ancient Egyptians, the scarab beetle was a symbol of regeneration and creation, conveying ideas of transformation, renewal, and resurrection. This is so important, okay? Because Halloween is all about that same idea, especially when you start looking into Samhain. It's sort of this Gaelic pagan vibe talking about regeneration and, the fall time. And I think it's just such a fascinating tie into the ritual quality of the realm and how these elites ritualize full moons and new moons and eclipses and all of this stuff. And this Halloween just so happens to be sandwiched in between a very, very crucial eclipse, the total lunar eclipse that's about to come, as well as the solar eclipse that was just some days ago. And this all being at the end of a Shemitah year, that is not just practiced in Judaism, it's in the origins of Judaism. This goes back to Talmudic, Kabbalistic teachings. It's really, really interesting to see even how these, I would call them exoteric holidays like Christmas, Halloween, and, those are pretty much the basic ones. In America, we have our own, and other cultures, they have their own. But these are all coming back to things that are very interesting, and Satanism plays their specific, holidays into it. I mean, you should really, really dive deeper into that stuff if you're interested in calendars and the worship of specific days. And even when we get into the zodiac, that there's energetic shifts and planet alignments. It's amazing stuff. So let's move on and show you some more connections, because Halloween also matches something that you guys all know about, which is Ethereum. So let me just show you this. And we have right there, Ethereum and Halloween both having that 95, 41, and 40. And even the 40 crossover in multiple ciphers. So There's definitely connections here with Ethereum, and we've been seeing the way that Ethereum has been rebounding lately, getting back into 1600. Remember, I told you guys that I do expect ETH to at least have another run up to 1700, and yesterday we almost touched that. We got to about 1664. It's pretty damn close. And I have some trend lines here that we'll get into a little bit later, but wow, we really recovered off of this fake out to the downside right there on the 13th of October. So we do have that connection with this, which brings me naturally into a connection with Neptune, which we have that 95, and we could see that right there with Neptune. And let's show you this connection to Scorpio, because we're in tropical Scorpio right now. And let me just show you Halloween. We got that number sequence right there, and we have Scorpio. Same sequence. You see the 95s, the 41s, the 40s, also all matching Ethereum. All right. So I would love to take some time in the future to go back into the charts and just look at what coins have these matches in Gematria with the specific zodiac, whether that be tropical or sidereal, and see if we can get some connections, because this is a profound amount of connections we're getting here between all of these things. So moving forward, in sidereal astrology, we're actually in Libra. So let me show you what's going on with Libra. We're getting that 9 in Chaldean. And this is actually pretty important because Samhain, I'll type this out. We're probably not going to have too many connections with this, but because this is even in a different language and it's been translated, so that's unimportant, but I just wanted to show you what I'm talking about right now. Samhain, and this is actually practiced until the 1st of November. That's the full cycle. It's the 31st plus the actual 1st of November. And look at, let me just show you really quickly. We're in sidereal Libra, which is giving us that 9, and this will be the 9 date numerology on the last day of Halloween or Samhain. And one other connection to be made is the sign ruler of Libra is Venus. And Venus gives you 81 in the English ordinal cipher, and that's the 9th square. So that's 9 squared. More 9 connections. We have the 18 divisible by 9. I mean, it's just amazing how these numbers are all coming together, even bringing it back to multiple forms of astrology. Let me get into a couple more connections. So we have Halloween here giving you that 40. And remember, I made that connection with that 95 to Neptune. Well, let's just show you with Halloween this connection with the 40 to Poseidon. And we're getting that 40. It's pretty much spelled same way. So multiple matches across different different cultures of mythology. And one last thing is this is happening all in the 44th week of the year. So let me show you how starting tomorrow, we're going to be in the 44th week of the year. That number 44 we've been talking about a lot on this channel, but this will be transitioning into the lunar eclipse, which is going to be starting on the 45th week of the year. So we have that 4-5 connection. Let me show you lunar eclipse. It's giving you 45 in Chaldean. It's going to be happening on the 45th week of the year, as well as you get that 54 in the full reduction. And this is the lunar eclipse right here, and you're getting 54 days left in the year. And from Halloween to this day is 7 days, all coming back to the 7-year cycle that we've been talking about, which is the year of the Shemitah, and this being on November 7th, the 7th day of November. It's quite important that this is all happening too on a Monday, which will be, and it's 2 Mondays, the Monday connecting to another Monday by 1 week, the day of the moon, and this will be the lunar eclipse. So, I mean, so many more connections. Let me see if I can make one last one. Okay, beautiful. I just found one really quickly, and then we'll move on to the coins. So we have a 6 theme here, a theme of the 6s, and this is pretty clear. We have the November 1st date, which is the 111 in the 222 year, giving you 60 days left in the year, connecting this to the lunar eclipse, which will have a 60-day numerology, and this is separated by 6 days, 6 days apart, a lot of sixes that we're getting. So that all comes back to the day before the rest day, and that tells me there's going to be a lot of energy that will be coming in on these Mondays. The Monday that comes tomorrow into next Monday, because the rest day is the Sunday, and then the Sabbath day, we really had that energy during the Shemitah year, but now it's sort of transitioning out. And this also makes a lot of sense because the stock market is open on Mondays, and we see how the market has been acting lately, extremely volatile. So let me actually kick this off starting with the Dow Jones. Oh, and by the way, if you want to know my perception of how this is all going to go, it's just going to be a recap of everything that I've been saying now for months, which is that I saw a bullish energy into this local eclipse and then a correction after, or on the day of, kind of like within that 3-day window of November 7th. So whether that be on the 6th or the 5th leading into, because these days are crypto days, okay? That's why you need to pay attention to what I'm saying. Saturday and Sunday is going to be pretty much crypto alone, but that Monday of the 7th leading into like November 11th, that could be an energy that could be an energy for a potential correction. One more thing to say about this date of the 10th is that will be the 1-year anniversary since Bitcoin hit its all-time high, and this is the 314th day of the year, which is connected to pi. 3.14, which is full circle. We also have that 9 right there in the date numerology, and we know BTC giving us that 9 in Chaldean. I don't want to get too deep back into decoding again, but just to prepare you guys for like how I'm visualizing this all to go. The solar eclipse, which we just passed, was a bullish energy, and the lunar eclipse that's coming up is a bearish energy. Out of there, I think Q4 as a whole, there's a potential recovery in the making. The way that these big corrections happen can lead to very fast recovery. That's why in Wyckoff method, they call it selling climax, because the selling is exhausted. The selling pressure is completely exhausted to the downside. You can't go much lower. And then you have very, very incredible recovery rallies that take retail by, confuses them even more. And the people that are aware of TA as well as these decoding, principles have you have such a leg on the market. So getting back to the Dow, finished on the Friday close just shy of 3,300 points, 33,000, excuse me. And a 3% candle. I mean, geez, look at this recovery. We've already entered overbought in the RSI on the daily, just with a couple of these green candles. And you can see if I zoom out, I do have a trend line coming in. So pay attention to this trend line. We have the all-time high for the Dow, followed by a rejection that comes in around April, followed by another noticeable rejection in August. And here we are gravitating right back to this yellow trend line, which is really, really close to the top of the golden pocket, the 786. And this is just a local pull. And the reason why I did this local pull is because we have a low here and we broke, this is a high, and we broke this high in the structure after it followed by a lower low. So in very simple English, we have a low, a lower low, and then here we have a lower high, because there's your high that comes before it. There's your lower high. This is a continuation of a downtrend. But then you have to mark this local high and mark this lower low. And once we broke this structure here, that was a sign that this was a very pivotal point, somewhere around 34,000. Now, I pulled my fib from there because of that purpose. And that was giving me like what would be the local move I could anticipate for the Dow if we're going to have a relief rally. And I shared all those levels with you guys, with the upside level of around 33 into 33.5. And that's because of the 888 fib. I would not normally entertain the 888 fib on a bigger fib pull like such as this, but I would in a smaller situation, in a more like a micro situation. But coming to here, do you see where this 618 aligns? It aligns right with that level. So That is important to me. 33 to 33.5 could be the next upside level, and that would be a perfect place for rejections. We could even see a wick into 33.5 followed by a closure below this yellow trend line, which would just be another lower high, and then we could continue down. So until the Dow breaks 34,300 points, this is still just an overall downtrend. Let me fix this. So there's your key. Your key level is just here. Until we break this level, I'll even put a reminder here for myself. Let me get it a log. I'm going to add an alert, is what I meant to say. So that way I know if that rings off that we've literally started a reversal structure. Obviously, I would like to see some sort of rejection first, like this. Like this is very unexpected, but I'm just letting you know. Let's just say we move up to the 888, get that rejection like I was telling you about, and we actually come down to the 236, but do not go lower. This would actually be, and if we broke highs in that structure right there above this 34,300, that would be an actual trend reversal. That's unlikely to happen. What's more likely to happen is us to maybe get a short-term Monday, Sunday move to the upside, and then once all the markets open, a dead cap, like some sort of dead cap bounce thing, brings us down to 27, and then maybe a little bit of relief into this support right here, and then another bigger move, which takes us into like fall time of next year. Something that could really, really bring us down like that. And that would be an overall correction of about, what, 45%? There you go, rough 50%, somewhere into like 20,000 points. That would be how I would really see it going, and I think that crypto will recover before this. So even if this continues all the way to the fall time of 2023 for the stock market, I think crypto will recover within this time frame, probably by here. While this is doing this, crypto will be doing this. It will fall faster, harder, and recover faster and harder. That's how all nascent asset classes, especially based around technology, perform in a market. But the Dow, it's going to be a slow bleed. And now we're just in the process of giving, investors an opportunity to de-risk. Anyone who doesn't de-risk in these times is perma-bullish, and they don't want to look at things clearly. So there's your Dow analysis. I mean, it's very thorough. I've been giving you the dates of when to expect these pivots, and I hope you guys are enjoying this additional part of the episode. So here we are in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is snoozing, just super sleepy, and that's actually not a bad thing. I rather Bitcoin build a shit ton of support around 19,000. Anybody who knows how to do TA would agree with me. Because if we build a ton of support around these levels, even if we broke lower than it, and once we get back above it, these are going to be like your new protection zones for new investors. So like what used to be a $9,000, $8,000 Bitcoin, that will be that'll be the $19,000, $20,000 Bitcoin of the last cycle comparatively to our new cycle. Meaning I was building my Bitcoin position somewhere around 8K in the last cycle. And then I was doing all my de-risking around 45,000 to 54,000. I got some de-risking around 63, but just a little bit. That right there freed up liquidity for me to wait for a new bottom. And if we even get a swipe down into like 13K, I doubt it's going to last that long. It's going to look like these bigger moves to the downside. But once we build that recovery, we're going to start to treat the new 236 as the new base. So let me just show you what that is. Oh, sorry. So if I pulled it down to like 14, I should actually probably do this in log. There you go. Okay. So if you see where I'm pulling it, like 13.5, it's on the top of the golden pocket from the last pull. That's exactly where I pulled my fib down to. Let me just double check that I'm in. Perfect. I'm in fib based on log. And you see where that 236 is? It's perfectly around 20K. It's at like 19,800. So if we were to make a move like this for the eclipse, boom, selling climax, build, maybe shoot up to 30, come back down, and then start holding this 19K region and have these weird pumps until we get recovery into 2020, full-blown price discovery into 2024, which basically means that building positions earlier at the earlier stage is so much smarter, regardless if we have return back, because it builds all of this opportunity for dollar cost averaging, for actually developing your position over time. And those of you that own businesses or get paychecks from your job, that's perfect, because you could utilize some of that excess capital to build positions. If we were to turn this all off, you see the structure down here looks so freaking, it's so similar. It's scary how similar this is. This is why I'm getting really close to starting building my portfolio, rebuilding my portfolio, because if we don't see a bigger drawdown into this November eclipse for the crypto market, this is going to remind me a lot of the last Shemitah. So this is the last Shemitah for Bitcoin. And you see right here, this is the end of the Shemitah. So this is September 27, 28, October. Look at this recovery. Actually, we pumped into November 5th the same exact way that we are in our stage of recovery right now. Okay? So that's why I'm not going to wait. I'm just kind of, taking my time to be patient right now. And I'm going to attack when I'm seeing the signals that either is the market going to roll over on these key dates that I'm looking for, or are we just going to have a slow recovery that almost is so unnoticeable that people, they don't know how to respond to it. That's important to mention, because market cycles are very, very interesting. You think right in these stages right here that people, like regular people, were buying in at these lows, but they weren't. Like, these buy walls were institutional people who are really long-term on these projects, and retail's waiting till it gets, exciting. And that's why retail keeps failing, because they're driven by these emotional sentiment cycles. Right now, it's really boring in the market. It's really bloody, but we're seeing a little bit of that relief happening in the Dow, which is probably, they're going to say, oh, it's because of elections. They're going to give all their bullshit reasons, just like they do to the downside. But ultimately, that's how markets tend to roll over. They tend to roll over after an exaggerated move to the upside. That's kind of what I'm anticipating moving into the next couple weeks. So these next couple weeks are super important, guys. Now, with that being said, let me just show you some levels to consider here. First one would be 22.5 to the upside. I do think Bitcoin could actually get into like October 6th, especially if it gets into October 6th. Because that's a Sunday, and then you have CME open, and if there's any gaps, that would be a perfect reason to send it down again to this 1618, somewhere around 17.7, which could even lead to more downside. Now, another thing that I'm seeing develop here could be a potential W. That would be pretty clean, and we could look at that from the daily closes that happened on this neckline. Right there around October 5th, October 6th, we did get a back test right here, so this could be continuing. Now, let me show you the measured move on this. Be something direct. Oh, look at where we're at. We're right at 22.5. So that's my de-risk level, guys. It's right here. That's where I would be getting out of. That's where I would anticipate rolling over if we're gonna. But if Bitcoin starts to close 3-day candles or back test this and has a bounce, then this is gonna be a bullish breakout to the next level of 24.5. This red line right here has been a clear issue for Bitcoin. 24 to 24.5 has been a struggle zone. Once we fell through it dramatically back here into June, we had a battle where we got that rejection there, multiple rejections, and then here about 5 trading days of rejections all around 24,000. So 24,000 is an area for Bitcoin that once it gets above that and solidifies holding that as a support, I think you're not going to see below 20K Bitcoin ever again. But that could take time, remember, because we have what's more likely, which is a return to the downside first, plus a recovery where we hold the 20K region as an ultimate bottom support, similar to the way that Bitcoin used to trade down into like 7,000 to 8,000, like I explained earlier. And then once Bitcoin started to get above 10K and started to hold those levels, that's where the things got really spicy again. So that's going to be like the new 24K. You can see we have thin air We have thin air between 24K and like 30K. 34K actually. So that's an even bigger trading range to consider. So gravity up to 22.5 is anticipated moving into the end of this month, our monthly close. Let's look at the monthly. Okay, build a clear support, right? You can't argue that. Clear support at 19. This looks great. But that doesn't matter because you can still fall through it in one candle, just like we did back here. So clearly important level right there is that 19. Let me turn on these moving averages and turn off the drawings. So you see that 55 simple moving average showing us a resistance. So getting a weekly close above 21,000 would be ideal, but it doesn't say much because our 8 moving average is still sloping to the downside. Ultimately, you want to see this 8 moving average return into a sloping in the upward position, and you definitely want to keep this 55 sloping to the upside. It has been sloping to the upside for the entirety of Bitcoin. Okay. The eclipse week will also be a bi-weekly close, so that's very important, and it's clear as day that this 8 simple moving average is a resistance for Bitcoin. So closing the next bi-weekly above this level, for me, it still doesn't mean shit just because this is an eclipse week, and weeks of an eclipse are very, very odd because of the energy. That's where like not just only going with TA is important. You have to be open-minded to other things. So the weekly is really like starting to look okay now. Just a slight recovery. And then you could see this 13 exponential moving average on the weekly is definitely playing a resistance. So closing the weekly for this week above 21 might be able to signal enough relief to get us back to that 22.5 level, which I explained a little bit ago. And then right there, maybe a rejection at this 21 weekly, which used to be a textbook support level. Like you can see in this bull run, the orange moving average, we just kept returning back to it over and over and over again. So the same thing when we're getting rejected off of it, we tend to have corrections to the downside. So that would be something to consider, but I wouldn't be putting too much emphasis on that at this time. So other than that, yep, I would be looking to holding in the short term 20,300, which is the neckline, and then maybe a move up to about 22.5 to complete this W breakout, and then like a double top structure followed by another lower high, which would then lead to a bigger rejection to the downside. But anything above 24.5 and you pretty much have a full-blown recovery for Bitcoin. So that gives you like a more macro outlook as well. Let's get to ETH. ETH really just loving these trend lines, right? We've been using trend line analysis and this arc for a while now, and it's been really helpful in how we've been perceiving, because if you zoom in, you could see this arc has been an incredible support line. It also is kind of scary because if we were to go follow this arc further, it would be sending you below $700. So in the short term, we can see that we had rejection, and we broke through this trend line. It's totally fine because we were anticipating somewhere around 1700 anyways, so that's kind of getting fulfilled. Then we have this trend line here, which has about 4 days of trading, a rejection, and then right here we broke above it, confirmed it as a support, and then we broke below it again, still playing into this lower parallel channel. So let me show you this parallel channel from another perspective, like this. And you can see this heart line now through the middle is coming in around like 1500. So that's a psychological level, and that's in perfect alignment with this yellow trend line that I had. I drew that out because of fibs that I was pulling, but furthermore, just consider that that might be an important level. If ETH wants to get rejected and hold that level, could actually be a good sign. But if it starts to close below this trend line specifically, and then eventually this trend line, I think we're going to start to see lower levels for ETH. So ultimately, as long as ETH can hold daily closes above 1240, that's fine. If it starts getting closures below that level, then I think we're going to start to see a $1,000 ETH again. Now, we could have an opportunity for this to have one more jump to the upside, and it would be between 1770 as high as $2,000 ETH. What would make a $2,000 ETH happen would be Bitcoin recovering up to that 22.5, maybe 24K level. It's very possible, by the way, because look at how much of a jump that would be for ETH. Just another 27%. That's nothing for crypto. Look at from this wick to this jump right here. It was 129%. So from here up to 2K, ETH would only be a 68% move. It would be half of the amount of total movement. I think that's very possible if this market maker wants to just super manipulate this market before a further correction. But that is how they always do it, right, guys? That's what they did before the pandemic crash. They sent the market to the upside, confusing the fuck out of people. And then we started to see negative oil prices, like negative per barrel. It's just like completely a game. The sense of reality that the market enters during these ritual moments is like incomprehensible. The only people that would really know about what's going on are the people who are aware of the Shemitah. So, yep, I think if we start to close above 1770, there would definitely be a possibility for us to hit into the 2000 range, but it would be indicative of Bitcoin getting above 22.5. So consider this as a big picture scenario. And then closing below this level, right? I should actually just move this trend line down, but I like this level more because I'm seeing a lot of touch points here as an overall support, somewhere around 1280. XRP, I'm actually going to glaze over this a little quicker because nothing has actually changed since the last video that I put out. But remember this big white trend line that we've had going for over a year now? We're really swimming around this level. So consider this trend line like the best trend line ever on XRP. It doesn't get much better than this to be able to determine where XRP likes to gravitate back to. Even after it overextends above this trend line, it still likes to come back to it. And that's happened multiple times right here, a little bit here, here, and here. And look, double happened twice before an even further correction to the downside, and here we are. It's no different. You see where it keeps gravitating to is this trend line. So it's beautiful to make it that easy on people. Now we have these horizontal levels around 44 cents. So if I'm going to see closures below this level in the daily, that would indicate probably a move down to 38 to 39 cents. That does not change. And that's the same exact analysis that I gave last week. The same thing to the upside. If we're going to see closures above 53 cents on the daily, I see 58 to 61 cents in play. Can't say more than that. It's really just something that we have to let play out. And you know XRP, it's very explosive and then very dumpy. So it could go very explosive quickly, it could dump back down very quickly. It's a pumpy dumpy coin. It has been for 4 years now. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But what I will say is if I start to see sub 31 cent XRP, I will be buying more. I would love to buy more 27 to 22 cent XRP. I'm not certain how that would be possible unless Bitcoin goes below 17,000. So in the event that Bitcoin breaks below 17,000, oh my goodness, I will be definitely buying a ton of XRP. But in the meantime, I already have enough of it that these levels, I just want to see how they play out. But even what's the difference between 30 and 40 cents? Seriously. So I don't want what I just said to influence you in any way, shape, or form. I'm not an influencer. I'm an artist. I create and I use very esoteric principles to help you unlock your truth. I design courses that allow you to not be reliant on me. You learn the skills and you could apply it to what interests you and what aligns with your current lifestyle and your cash flow situation and your passions and your interests. Please know this, okay? So where I'm at in this portfolio building game, it could be much different than somebody who just learned about crypto last month, all right? I took advantage of a full cycle, buying very, very discounted, undervalued projects and selling them at the 2021 highs. And I've kind of been sitting on the sidelines now for literally almost a year, slowly de-risking, anything that would get pumpy whenever it would happen. But for the most part, I've been just waiting and waiting and waiting for this exact moment, around these particular eclipses into Q4 of 2022. I'm being patient. I'm sticking to my investment thesis, and I advise you do the same. But if you're brand new and you're hearing me talk about buying a 22 cent or 27 cent XRP, don't get influenced by that. If you're somebody who's brand new to this market and you just want to start in this game, definitely start with educating yourself, whether that be in my Crypto-Mastermind course or somebody else that you resonate with, but really take the time to develop that investment thesis and don't wait around for anything exaggerated, Go with what you believe in, what you resonate with, and leave the rest. Just for me though, because most of my XRP was bought below 20 cents, it would be ideal for me to kind of wait it out a little bit longer. And if I don't see that come to fruition, if I only see 32 cents or whatever, an actual structural recovery, then I'll be buying then. This way I have a plan A, plan B, plan C, etc. So moving on to the first coin of the episode, we're going to be getting into Solana. It's been a while, actually. Oh, would you look at this? All right, so let's see the total correction. We're looking at about 90%. Okay, beautiful. I remember anyone who's like an OG wolf, when this used to be up in these highs, I told people, wait till this coin is an 85 to 95% correction. And I remember a lot of people in the community giving me shit for it. Probably people that left a while ago because they're just emotional. But I was saying it based in TA. I wasn't trying to be dramatic. I was giving people the facts that I was seeing unfold in the charts and what typically happens in any altcoin. Solana being no different. This is why I don't spend too much time researching the technology and the people that work in the companies and the CEOs, and because none of that fucking matters to me. All I'm worried about is when is the ideal time to buy this thing and when is the ideal time to get rid of this thing. Okay, that's all an investment is. An investment is not something you just hoard and hold on to dear life because you believe in some team of people are going to come, bring you wealth and riches. No, the way you develop wealth and riches is by creating products, or in the game of investing, you need to know when to sell the thing. You need to know when to let go of it. So the reason why so many people struggle as investors is because they keep believing and believing and believing and not taking action. Delete your belief and believe in yourself. Put all of that externalized belief is what I really meant to say, and put that into yourself. And that's going to get rid of that mechanism of hope that will keep you drowning as an investor. Hope is one of the deadly sins of investing. Drown your hope. It's not going to help you in these markets, and that's really what has gotten so many people caught up in the XRP community with the hope of whatever 589 price, or all of that stuff is just keeping people distracted from taking action. And my work is focused on taking action. So I could very quickly look at charts like Solana and know there's going to be a big correction that comes eventually for this. And here we are. Now where we're returning to is a level that I mapped out a while ago whenever I did the last Red Pill podcast covering this token. And you can see the reason I mapped this level out was because of this triple bottom return deal, where if I zoom in, even though we extended past this line on the daily closes, we like to keep this level. So you see that around $21 Solana, we keep coming down there. I'll just quickly type and see if we could get anything. So we're getting that 20 in Chaldean. Oh, and we're getting the 33 when you combine them, and the 108. Okay, so this is pretty profound in these number connections. We're getting 33, number of transmutation. And then that 108, the number for spiritual completion. Super interesting that we're getting that 20 with Solana. I'm wondering, I also remember a 46 connection. I'm trying to remember what exact token that was on, but I saw that one earlier as well when I was doing some work. But here we are, we've pretty much broken down through that 20 multiple times, and it seems to be an ideal level. And this 26 level as well, we're getting 62 in English Ordinal, which is just the reverse of 26. Super interesting where this all plays. And of course, this is just coming back to the sun, right? The sun and Helios, that's all Sol is. Solana, it's the sun. But I don't think this has anything to do with the actual sun. This is a completely, the reason I don't give too much of my energy to this is the only sun in this market is Bitcoin. Everything else is tied to, other things, but Bitcoin is the sun. This is probably soul, like your soul. That's probably what this is coming back to. But anyways, more importantly, from a technical perspective, The fact that we broke through this 1618 on the downside and started to actually show resistance on it like we did in this cluster right here and locally is a sign that between 34 and 25, is a great investment opportunity. But this thing could go lower, and where I would anticipate it going lower would actually be the horizontal trend line right here at around 22. And that would make a lot of sense because we were just in the Shemitah year, which was the 22. And then probably somewhere back testing right around here, 16. I know that sounds deep, but that's like what it would create if Bitcoin went below 17,000. So if Bitcoin started to break below 17,000, this would be a full correction now down to about $16. And like if you compare Ethereum's correction from the last cycle, Ethereum corrected 95%. That would be like Sol coming down to this level right here, which would be $12. That would not be weird, guys, because if ETH can do it, of course this nonsense can do it as well. Don't take that personally. It's the Red Pill Podcast. I should really rename this to the Clear Pill Podcast. But I think maybe in the future, if I ever create a podcast that's centered around the ideas that I talk about in my live streams, that's probably what I'll call it. So we'll see if that day comes. And if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, let me know. Speaking of Solana trading around $33 today, as you can see, the high price was $33.53. And like I just showed you before, how Sol and Solana together give you that 33. It's definitely interesting connection, and that's typically how I like to do my Gematria with prices. So on a bigger correction, somewhere between 16 to 12, but then anywhere trapped below this 25 area with daily closes would give me some more downside targets, and that would really be the overall selling climax for this project, I believe. Let me see if there's a little bit of a trend line that I could locate. It's really hard, but yeah, it's about somewhere like this. And that would really be fantastic if like maybe Bitcoin comes up to 24. I think it would come up into this cluster right here, somewhere around 42, and then actually roll over prematurely, probably come down pretty harshly into like 16, maybe like into the middle of this zone at 14, and then pop up and finally get above this trend line and then have a back test. And then actually start treating this as a support with continuation into 2023 summertime. Probably somewhere around this, maybe even 3 digits again. Like honestly, I know that sounds fucking crazy, but if you were to pull fibs from here to here, and you could see around 3-digit Sol would be the 702 fib, and holy shit, like I literally perfectly pulled it by mistake. You could see I pulled from the all-time high to that exact correction level, and where I put the line was the 702, which is like about what you expect. It's really random. But that's around 108, which is another also random because Solana Sol equals 108. So maybe we just manifested the next jump for Sol. And shit, that would be dope. That would be a 600 to 700% move. And I don't think Sol's going I don't think Sol's going to do what Luna did. I think Sol's going to be fine, but I do see more continuation of the downside. So just keep that in mind. Definitely not a project that I'll be holding on to. I'm more interested in like Binance coin personally. I'm more interested in I'd rather have Binance than Sol. Okay, we're getting into Gala now. It's like, I know this is a gaming token. Ooh, ugly. All right. Okay. There's not much to do on this because this is just absolutely a washout. 96% losses. And now it's getting a 23% pump today. And people are probably like, yeah, but who the hell bought this? And what does a 22% pump matter after this thing lost 96% of its value? Shitcoin. Okay, let me move this down. Again, please don't take... I need to be spicy in these episodes, specifically when I talk about altcoins, because I need to condition people to remove their emotions from these things. I know this because of last week. I got some pushback from people who were taking what I said about one of the coins very personally, as if you guys created the fucking token. I think it was about Songbird. You didn't create anything. You're just following along, and don't take these things personally. Seriously. I am helping you by being spicy. because I'm attacking that piece of the damaged ego that wants to hold on to these old ways of being enslaved by investment, by being enslaved by money. That's the love of money, is when you get offended by these sorts of things. You need to remove that quality of self if you want to become a better investor, you want to get better at business, you want to get better at helping other people in this world. You want to get better at creating art, whatever it is. It requires you to not take these things personally because you didn't create them yourself. You're just here for the ride. Enjoy the ride. Don't let the ride run you over. So with that being said, this is something I would never put in my portfolio. This is horrendous. One of the more awful looking charts. And the structure of this actually reminds me of something else that I've seen. Maybe it's Shiba. I don't know. But yeah, this is rough. Okay, so I don't know if this thing could go much lower besides going to zero. Now, there is room for this to fill out this launch wick, the wick when it launched, right there. But that would get bloody. That would get down to 2 cents. Okay, so that's about a 98% correction, and we've seen that happen with coins before. There you go. Around 98%. That's what I would anticipate if Bitcoin was to break further. So this thing holding the 30.03 cent region, if it can't, closure below that, you probably swipe down to the 2 cent range and maybe start building support into this wick area, like something like this. Maybe Bitcoin comes up a little, so this brings this up for another lower high, then this rolls over, and then it does like one of these, and then just shoots for an automatic rally. And then in this automatic rally, another harsh rejection, probably a return down to a double bottom, and then you have your extended cycle. But you better hope that it does this, because these are the types of coins that go boop to hell. Probably nothing really that important about this regarding the future of where things are headed. But I do understand that gaming and all of this, like giving people rewards and blockchain rewards, that's all pretty big stuff. So for those of you that know a lot about this project, just be careful. Okay, sometimes what you know is the death of you. It's what you feel that will save you. But think about what I just said. Wisdom and gnosis are feelings. They're the inner knowing, and data and information keeps you informed. And that information, you think about like soldiers walking in formation, or when kids at school walk in a single file line. It's getting you to be a follower. That's what information is. It keeps you in formation. But creation is chaos. It's all knowing. It is literally the energy of God. So that's some esoteric wisdom for those of you out there that maybe you know a lot about these projects, but the performance in it isn't really, going according to plan, and you don't have the patience. You really need to step away from some of that stuff sometimes and just ask yourself, well, where did I put my money in this? What percentages did I put my money in this? And kind of reverse engineer where you made mistakes. Now, if you only had 4% or 2% of Gala in your portfolio, then perfectly fine. Whatever, it's venture capital, and I advise you do such. I personally don't like putting more than 5% in these random altcoins myself. And by practicing that, yes, I don't have the most crazy explosive, shitcoin gains, but I also don't need to have these crazy losses on the other side of things. And it helps me with taxes. It helps me with all other sorts of things. Okay, next one is Illuvium. Wow, this is even worse. Wow, this thing went from almost $2,000 down to $50. Wow. Okay. 97% correction. Another one where it's like, this is not, where do I even begin? Woo. Okay. Let me see what's going on here. Can this go lower? Yeah, probably the 2618 around $33. If Bitcoin wants to roll over again, this thing is going to really continue to slide. Okay. Now Yeah, look at this. Like, even for it to go from that to that is already entering oversold RSI. It's getting rejected there. So yeah, not too much to say about this one, guys. This is rough. Now, if we were to look at this in a perspective of recovery, if this is the selling climax, then it would be about 119 would be your next move to the upside. And then on return down to about 53 with daily closes below there, I would consider movement down to your 40s and $30 region. If it could hold this 50 level, it could create a W, and then you'd have your neckline right there. And I assume your measured move would come up somewhere into the 236, regardless, somewhere into $120 illuvium. 120 to about 130 into this zone of peaks. And then a full recovery would probably be into the 314 area, which would be your dead cat bounce scenario. So it's maybe something like this, measured move, get above the 236. And then you have your 0.5. That's the completion of your automatic rally. And then you would anticipate downside. So unless you were building your position on this free fall, this is not really helpful because this could take up to 3 more years to recover fully. And it doesn't even have too much chart data either to speak on, but enough chart data to the point where I was able to cover it in this episode. Now, I do think this is perpetually going to slide to the downside, just based off of the limited chart data and how it's been moving thus far. Maybe a little bit of recovery with any Bitcoin move, but then it's probably going to roll over into the $30, $40 territory. And then at that point, it's like, yeah, these are really venture capital plays, guys. Protect yourself on these. I know people could get shiny object syndrome on some of these and they want to just have like a bunch of different coins and maybe they see these 97, 98% corrections and they get excited, but I just want you guys to protect yourself from getting a little bit too excited about stuff just because it's had big corrections. That's not a good way to invest. And Warren Buffett teaches about that as well. How like some of the worst decisions he made was ones where his buy low, sell high thing, the first phase of that, which is buying low, it's just this trying to catch a falling knife thing. So be careful with that. Here we are onto an old classic Theta token. Lots of chart history for this one. We have really only one parabolic cycle to talk on, which is this one that happened in 2020 to 2021. Off the base, we're looking at about 31,000% gains. So this was one of your very successful altcoins in that 2021 cycle. And thus far, we've had a deeper correction, somewhere into about 93, 94%. So that's no different than what Ethereum did in 2017 to 2018, perfectly normal. Now I have some weird trend lines here that could perhaps be helpful, but one of the things I wanted to show you was how I pulled a fib from this swing high to this swing low in the last cycle, and we have this 1618 sitting around $1.20. It's pretty interesting how thus far we've been seeing Theta trade around that old 1618. I'll just highlight that area and show you what's up. So you see this red dotted line, that's the current price action of Theta, and it's right in alignment with the golden ratio of that prior fib pull. So just something interesting to bring up, and I think that is indicative of that's a strong key level around $1. It's like a psychological level, of course. So if we move up, let's just say Bitcoin decides to get into the 23K, 24 area, there'd be a potential for a double top on this level right here, and even smacking against this downsloping trend line, which has been a rejection level ever since the all-time high. 1, 2, 3, tons of touch points here, another touch point here, and another touch point here. I mean, that's a clean trend line. We have a little bit of it overextending, but not too much. So perhaps maybe one swipe to $1.70, but we're not in an altcoin energy right now for these types of coins. This is like a Venus token, so it's not going to be following that bullishly or that much bearishness. That's why this sell-off came really early, and it's been keeping this trading level now for almost 200 days. So let's go back to this last cycle where we see that lower level took about 70 days. Well, this could be this part right here, and we could be in the midst of about to have this moment, and that's where these two red trend lines come into play. So that would be my further downside targets for Theta if it wants to make one more swipe to the downside, perhaps coming down to 50 $3.55, and then you'd have about maybe a month or two in that area, and then a recovery into the summertime of 2023. And a fib pull like this would show you kind of what's to expect if we do move down to 56. Also, really quickly, let me look at theta token. I think we got the 119, so that's huge. Got that 54.18. We know that's connected. The 1881 back to Venus. I got that 19 in Chaldean. So that 42 level would not be surprising for any moves to the upside. Got that 42 right there in Chaldean. 38, 42. It's pretty much right sandwich between the 0.5 fib and that 618, which is a key level to consider. So somewhere coming up into that area would not be weird, because if I zoom in right now and I put a horizontal line, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So you see around $4.20 is what I'm trying to clearly say. I'm just speaking really fast. You can see right here, top dumped into the blue line, dumped into the blue line, dumped into the blue line again. And then right here, we flipped it into a resistance. Look, came back up to it, rejected. Came back up to it, was the last rejection. So this tells me if we're going to move up into an automatic rally, it would be wise to assume somewhere around 42 to 45. Theta even having that 54, the 45 reverse. So keep that in mind, guys. This area of closing into the 240 range, into this 420, that would probably be a range to, maybe de-risk a little bit if you've been building a theta position at these lower levels. Now, if I personally see, because theta is one of the few positions that I actually have really long-term outlook on, like almost similar to an outlook like XRP. Therefore, I'm very calm and patient in my overall investment thesis, meaning if we do roll over into these sub 50 cent levels, that's probably going to be the time where I up my theta position closer to like 8 to 9% of my portfolio, and just to balance things out a little more. And there I find very lucrative, because if we were to pull off these areas of around 70 cents up to a de-risking target of around 420, that gives me about a 500% gain, and it offsets some of the shit that happened back here. And for me, that's equilibrium, and that's totally fine. So that's kind of my thesis at this time, just to build a little bit of position to have made up for the overall investment that I've put into this specific project. And then now overall, I think this is going to have an incredible, recovery, as it had an incredible run already. And the run was technical. I mean, this does have a use case. It does have a working technology. It's actively working. The fees are like super. I mean, it's just as good as XRP transfers regarding fees, etc. And the speed of the transactions. You have Theta Fuel. That's another venture capital concept where you could have like 2% of your portfolio in that. That wouldn't be a bad idea, because if Theta is going to recover back about 400 or 500% off of this exaggerated selling climax, you're probably going to get about 800 to 1,000% gains at something like T Fuel. But keeping at about 2% of your portfolio will keep you more in the conservative range regarding risk. So that's kind of my play on this long term. And I don't think we'll be covering this token for a while, because it's one of those that we've talked about a lot. We've really talked about it a lot in this, in my work. And I'm excited for the future of this project for sure. I would just keep my eye on this white trend line in the short term, somewhere around $1.40, because you can see that this white trend line, we keep gravitating back to it. We have that touch point, that right here. When we decided to break through it, we gravitated back up to it, rejection, and I would not be surprised if with this local bullish move that we're getting right now with the overall market, that there's one last breath into this area, maybe even into $1.77, and then follow that with rolling over somewhere into like 77 cents down to about 55 cents. So I'm going to leave it at that. We got about 1 hour, 15-minute episode thus far. I appreciate every single one of you. Lots of talking, very little breaks. Tried to pack this with as much value as possible for this Halloween special. Hope you enjoyed the decode that I shared with you in the beginning. And I'm looking forward to catching you all in our Discord. So again, if you would like Discord access and you don't have it yet, just remember to send me a message on Patreon with your Discord username and the last 4 digits after your username. I'll respond back to you in a Patreon message and get you onboarded, as well as all of my courses are available to you guys as Patreon supporters for 20% off. It's the biggest discount available. Enjoy, and I appreciate your continued support. It means the world to me. Wishing you all a beautiful rest of your weekend. Much love.